I never imagined I would be writing this story. My name is Michelle Thompson, and until last year I thought my family was unbreakable. I raised my son with love, gave him everything I could, and sacrificed most of my youth to make sure he had the life he deserved. But sometimes, the people closest to us hold the power to wound us in ways no stranger ever could. I met my husband, David, when I was 24. He was charming, attentive, and everything I ever wanted in a man. We got married a year later, and not long after we had our son, Jason. He was the light of our lives, kind, smart, and respectful. From a young age, he showed maturity beyond his years. We were proud parents, and I often looked at him and thought, he's going to be an incredible man one day. But things change, sometimes slowly and sometimes all at once. David and I had our rough patches like every couple. After nearly 2 decades of marriage, the spark had dimmed, replaced by routine and quiet tolerance. We weren't unhappy exactly, but we weren't in love anymore either. We both knew it, but neither of us dared to say it aloud. Jason had just turned 21 when he came back home from college for summer break. He looked different, more grown. His face had matured, his voice was deeper, and his confidence was almost intimidating. But what stood out the most was how protective and present he had become, especially with me. At first, I brushed it off as him being caring. After all, we were close. He'd always been a mama's boy, and we shared everything, our thoughts, fears, and late-night conversations. But something shifted during that summer. It began with subtle glances that lasted just a little too long. Comments that felt oddly intense like, "You're really beautiful, Mom," said with a tone I couldn't quite place. I laughed them off, blaming hormones or youth. I told myself I was imagining things. Then came the night that broke everything. David had gone on a weekend fishing trip with his coworkers. Jason and I were alone in the house. We ordered takeout, watched a movie, and stayed up talking like we used to. Felt natural, nostalgic even. Somewhere around midnight I got up to head to bed, but Jason stopped me. "Stay a little longer, Mom," he said softly. I hesitated but agreed. The wine we'd shared had dulled my senses, made everything feel warm and slow. We talked about his future, his dreams, and then he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "You're not like other moms," he whispered. "You're everything." Froze. My heart pounded in my chest, warning me, screaming at me. But I stayed silent. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was denial. Or maybe deep down I had been lonely for so long that any form of affection, even if misplaced, felt like a lifeline. I stood up abruptly. "Jason, it's late. Go to bed." His eyes searched mine, full of something I couldn't name. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," he said. I don't like seeing you unhappy." "I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile. "Good night." I retreated to my room, closed the door, and leaned against it, shaking. The air felt heavier. I couldn't sleep that night, and I didn't know if it was fear or guilt that kept me awake. The following days were tense. Jason avoided eye contact, and I tried to pretend nothing happened. But pretending doesn't erase things. It was a week later when everything shattered. David came home early from work one afternoon. I was in the kitchen when he walked in holding my phone, his face pale and trembling. "What is this?" he asked, his voice shaking. I looked down and saw the screen, a text thread between Jason and me. One message in particular stood out, one I hadn't seen. Jason had written, "I meant what I said the other night. I don't care what anyone thinks. I know how I feel." David looked broken. I tried to explain. I told him I didn't encourage it, that nothing happened. But the damage was already done. He didn't yell or accuse. He just walked out. And that silence hurt more than any argument ever could. Jason came home an hour later to find me crying on the floor. I confronted him. Furious, heartbroken, and confused. He admitted everything. He said he had feelings he didn't understand, that he didn't mean to destroy our family. "I just wanted you to feel loved again," he said. I slapped him. I had never done that before. But at that moment, it was the only response my shattered soul could manage. The fallout was devastating. David filed for divorce. He didn't fight or drag it out. He just wanted to be done. Jason left and didn't return to school. I didn't ask where he went. I didn't want to know. I spent months drowning in silence. Friends whispered. Family avoided eye contact. I was marked not by what happened, because nothing physical ever did, but by the emotional betrayal, by the blurred lines and broken trust. Eventually I found a therapist and started rebuilding myself. I found a job, moved to a smaller home and began writing, not because I thought anyone would read it, but because I needed to release the poison. Jason wrote to me once, a letter apologizing, explaining, asking for forgiveness. I haven't responded. Sometimes love twists into something it shouldn't be. Sometimes the people we raise grow into strangers. And sometimes, despite all our efforts, life leaves a scar we'll carry forever.